revealing a whole big collection of your work. Not your finished work, but like just your mess of a life of a work over a big period of time. It's really nerve-wracking, but guess what? I'm gonna do it today. Yeah, oh, that's a new basket. I'm gonna do it today, friends. You've been asking to see my work over time, and it's time. So I have baskets and little trays, and yeah, that's right, I am not a sketchbook gal. Do I have any others here that are like me and don't really do sketchbooks? In fact, I started a sketchbook at the beginning of 2022, and there's some cool stuff in it, but I didn't stick with it long, and now I can't find it. So anywho, friends, we're gonna get going and just dive into all this artwork from 2022, and I'm gonna try not to freak out and try not to be nervous, and you're gonna see it all, the underbelly and everything of Christy Rice and craziness. Okay, let's go. Here we go, friends. This is a little tray that I had going. Yeah, I can't really put any rhyme or reason to how I organize my stuff, but you're just gonna have to just kind of go with me. All right, these were from a video tutorial I did about paper, the best budget paper. So really fun little experiments. And this is honestly, I just kind of feel like a lot of my work is very much experimental. Now this batch, honestly, I had it organized for a reason, because all of these are from some type of drill video or practice of my own, my personal practice where I was testing out, you know, a new paint or something like that. These were some drills, but I gotta be honest, some of the most lovely things happen. Like this, I think might have been for a TikTok, and you know, it's just a weird cactus pad, but you know, there's some beautiful, luscious things happening, and that's the whole idea of a sketchbook, right? The idea of a sketchbook is that you're feeling that freedom of not necessarily finishing a piece, but just kind of getting in, getting dirty, getting ugly, and being okay with it. And so if you're a person that's like me, that just doesn't need that format of a sketchbook to kind of dive in that kind of loosey-goosey, free way, then go for it. But if you feel like the sketchbook helps you do that, then also go for that. So this was from the Apple tutorial that I did that was all about seeing and really a way to help your sketching. And honestly, look, like I go on the back of things so often. So that was the first little bit that I pulled out from this year. And friends, this is honestly just a smattering of things that I've done this year. I was gathering everything up today, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, I was busy. Okay, so this was a tutorial about landscapes. I believe this might have been a tutorial for my new palette, the tutorial you get when on the back of the packaging. This was a fun one, again, about landscapes. This pile is all about landscapes, and I teach the Sharpie method. I'll link that video below if you want to know more about the Sharpie method. But this was my sketch, and then this was my finished piece. Super fun. Oh, anybody recognize this one? This was me painting alongside Kolbie Blume. I'm going to link that whole series below, because really it was the highlight of my year in so many ways. This is a piece that I did. I went to this really cool gathering where I got to paint in a creek, and I was literally like dunking this canvas board into the creek and letting the ink go. I never finished it. This was from a Weeping Willow tutorial that I did, and actually this one was a little practice before I did the tutorial. There was even more practice. Let's see what's on the back of this. Who knows? I think that was from last year, and this was a watercolor mashup with colored pencils. I'm not a fan of colored pencils, probably because I just don't know much about them, but this actually was something that surprised me and delighted me, and I enjoyed it so much, and I kind of forgot about it, and I want to do it again. This was a piece, I think I did this live out of the Kolbie Blume Seascapes book, I think. It was so quick, and I actually really loved it. So this is kind of a go-to landscape scene that I do when I'm teaching very basic, kind of roughing out of landscapes. And this was another tutorial. I don't remember exactly what it was for. And here are two of the pieces I did on the Hippie Crafter black canvases, and y'all voted on your favorite. super fun, where I was mixing like acrylic paint pens and watercolor. That's what it was. Super fun. And honestly, again, back to this whole sketchbook thing. Like for me, these were sketchbook pages, and some of you might be like, oh my goodness, Christy, like those are expensive, and so, these were given to me for free. And so for me, it made sense to just really play. And because I gave myself that freedom, I came up with, this piece was my favorite. Love the composition, learned a lot with this one. Also learned a ton with this one, not as satisfying compositionally. But I evaluate the situations, and for the most part, I have so many scraps and supplies at my disposal that I've invested in over the years that like you have told me, you have supplies that sit around forever and you don't use. Well, I just started to use them. And I don't really regard too much for like, well, what did they cost me 10 years ago? I don't care. I'm going to use them right now. I'm going to use them how I feel like using them. And I guess I take more of a sketchbook mentality to everything that I create. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I don't know if that maybe is annoying to some of you. I don't know. I like to be honest with how I function in this like sketchbook world. So many folks are sketchbook folks, and that's totally awesome. It's just not me. All right, let's get into this big old basket. I'm just gonna pull out stuff. I don't know what I was doing. I vaguely remember, I think it's Rose, I don't know how to pronounce her name on Instagram, Rose Galwin Papery. I don't, totally probably butchering her name, but she always does these like darker, moodier, slightly opaque backgrounds, and then paints over them, and I was inspired by that. And so I think that's what I was doing there, messing around with that. Oh gosh, that's from like years ago. I don't know how that got in there. This was another experiment similar to this one. So was this. Lots of mixed media here, lots of white. White, I think, was like the finish layer. And I'm pretty sure it was gesso. This was a tutorial. I think it might've been a TikTok on just simple like strokes. I think I did this with a cat's tongue, and it was like a flower painted in just like minutes. I do a lot of stuff like this. Like I can feel now, this might've been, oh, the graphite, I don't forget how Derwent does them. Anyway, I did a lot of testing of those. It might have been that, but I do a lot of this. I will just take scraps. I keep a whole drawer full of scrap watercolor paper, and so that I can mess around and play with things. I think this might have been watercolor markers, dry brush with the Zig watercolor markers. That was fun. Have no idea. That looks like there's Opera Rose. Actually, this might have been with my palette, the Art for Joy's Sake palette. Just messing around with poppies. I think that was a TikTok as well. I love doing this kind of stuff. I did a bunch of videos at the end of this year where I really talked a lot about taking your scraps and turning them into something new. And this is a great example of that. This was just me swatching on what looks to be the Jen Crafts watercolor paper. This actually looks like the watercolor paper that comes with the big 48 palette. Just more of this stuff. And you can see like I've cut some of this stuff up for other things. More poppies. Gosh, I love poppies so much. It's my favorite flower. This was a TikTok. More of this like ink over whatever. I have absolutely no idea what that was. This was like a Hahnemühle paper pack this was some kind of postcard. Oh yeah, this was a block of watercolor postcards that I had since I was in high school. So like over, I don't want to admit, 30 years old. Anyhow. More swatching. Ooh, strawberries. This was on the Jen Crafts watercolor paper. Really nice how that turned out. But this is my sketchbook, y'all. This is how I function. Oh, that's a good piece of paper. I gotta save that for later. More strawberries. Honestly, some of this stuff might have been a little bit from last year. I can't remember. Oh, I did this for a live with Blume TV. A little imaginary fairy tale flower. That was super fun. Just more sketchy doodly things. This was a piece I cut up for something. But save your scraps. I'm gonna link a few videos below where I talk about, how to use your scraps. This was a TikTok, just a fun, super quick watermelon. Lots of fast stuff, but again, back to it, save your scraps. Okay, love this. I was experimenting a lot, and there's another couple in here. who knows where, if I'll run into them, but like this was a scrap piece of paper where I was swatching colors for my palette. So this big peach was a swatch, this was a swatch. Obviously this was like a drip from an ink bottle. And I think I did this live somewhere. I think it was here on YouTube, and I went live and I turned it into something. Like it took the splotchy messiness and turned it into something. And I was so happy with that one. I don't know what that was for. Then there's like wowed. I don't know what it's doing on the back. Who knows? But see, you don't need a sketchbook proper to have a sketchbook mentality. Oh, here was what I was doing. I think this was for a TikTok. It was like wowed, wet on wet, wet on dry, in different stages of those two techniques. So much swatching, y'all. Ooh, yep, love this. I'll go back. This was just ink, lots of P.H. Martin ink. Oh yeah. So this was from my recent video where I talked about like, what do you do when you're an ex-beginner? A bunch of different spins on the classic techniques. And then I repainted the composition from the first watercolor for beginners lesson, but using all of these kind of expanded on techniques. An iris. I do a lot of irises. I especially do them live. I don't know why. I love painting irises. They're so fun. Anybody else? Anybody that's watching this right now love painting irises? Of course, the obligatory pumpkin, that was for TikTok this year. But literally, I think this iris was from like 2 years ago. But I wasn't like, you know, it was a sketch. So I wasn't planning on like selling it. Probably scanned it though and just put the pumpkin on the back. This is more of that ex-beginners video. Friends, I'm gonna go ahead and link the watercolor for beginners and the follow-up, which is the watercolor for ex-beginners, down below, so you can take a look at those. The first that I just mentioned is the most popular video on my channel by far. That isn't a short. This was fun. This was a page that was just full of like, it was the backside of it was like a scrap that I think just laid on my table too long and got spattered too much, and I turned it into something. Love that. Oh, I did my fall fox, inspired by a Japanese artist that I cannot pronounce his name. I'm ashamed, but I cannot. And I just adore his work. But I do have a video about this. I will post that below. Some random flowers. If anybody remembers when I painted this, you can let me know. I believe it was a tutorial. It most likely was a live. One of the flowers I get asked to paint all the time, especially in lives when I call it out, like, hey, what do you want me to paint, is roses. Here's some swatching fun. This was something I did at TikTok or in one of the videos here where I was like, don't discount fluorescence, because all of these colors were mixed using this fluorescent. Mwah, chef's kiss, love it so much. And then just talking about like moody mixes and how just absolutely delicious they are. This was a semi-realistic lemon thing that I did. Poinsettia, and on the back of this poinsettia was something from like so many years ago, a white flower and then some other weird thing. But again, this is how I roll. Like I wasn't like super in love with these two. I probably scanned them because there were bits that I could use in different patterns for fabric or whatever. But then this is like the 600 GSM paper, so I wasn't gonna waste the other side. This one, oh yeah, this was very recent. So much fun with this. Played around with double loading of the brush. I will link that below. This was very recent. This was a lesson, a private lesson that I did with a student, and this was kind of what I came up with for her lesson. She was wanting to learn about blends and building detail, and so we did that. This was the fun, I think it was the 12-second landscape video that I did. I can link that below. And then this was one of my most popular videos from the last year. And it was like the wet on dry technique and how much I love wet on dry. And I taught you all about that. We'll link that below. This was all about glazing. This was about gesture drawing, super fun. And just more, oh, and this, y'all remember this? So fun. So fun. All right, lots of swatching stuff. I actually think these were from last year, but quite honestly, like, I kind of just feel like it was in the last maybe 15 months that I really came into my own on YouTube. And so a lot of that work is included in here, but more drills. And this is the kind of stuff, friends, that I save for later on, things that I might cut up All right, let's see what else we got in here, friends. Are you having a good time? Is this kind of content fun? Let me know if you are. I would really like to know if it's helpful for you to just kind of get inside my head. This was a little bit of a dahlia, and it was, I remember, I think I was talking about like when to know if you're finished. Little fall fun. Okay, this is so embarrassing to show, but I did a TikTok about Hocus Pocus 2, and I wanted to do really quick, sketchy, gestural of the sisters, and this went horribly wrong. And then it went much better and got a lot of eyes on this short. Some people liked it, some people didn't. This was a redo I did of Kolbie Blume's lesson, but I did it on the good paper and some fluorescent stuff. This was another short that I did. I also used it on TikTok of the quick bouquet, and it's an idea that I got from, is her name Lacey Rebel Unicorn Crafts, I think, on TikTok. Awesome. She did something like this, and I was like, oh, I need to put my own spin on that. And so I did. Of course, more roses. What do we got here? More dahlias, more roses. Okay, who remembers the song Corn? Something, I don't know. It's got the juice. I don't know. But anyway, remember corn? So I painted corn. Messing around with pencils. I really struggled with this fox. I did him a bunch of times before I actually made a video out of it. This was some fun stuff with a brush pen. This was painting blobby flowers. I forget what I called them. And then going over with pencil. But do you get this, like, the sketchbook vibe? But honestly, friends, any of these, like, these are all done on quality watercolor paper. Some, you know, fancier, like Arches. Some is more like, you know, Academy, even some Gen Crafts or some other brands that are more higher cotton content. But any of these could be turned into full-blown paintings and made into, like, real paintings, like, you know, Pinocchio paintings. Oh my gosh, did I really go there? This was such a popular video where I played around. I love mixing graphite with watercolor. I will link this one below. Super fun, blending soft graphite into wet watercolor. Dahlias with the cat's tongue brush, so good. This me just messing around with my pens. I do a lot of messing around before I actually film a video to make sure that I got loosened up and I've got my juju going and feeling good. This is an absolute disaster of a painting that I actually shared and turned into a video because I wanted you to see that, like, disasters are okay and we need to show them and like open up about them. Silly fox again. Silly fox, you were plaguing me. The rose that I kind of flipped open the petals, did that was super fun, and I actually used this in 2 videos. I'll try to link those below. More fun, more eucalyptus. I love doing dreamy eucalyptus. I don't know about you, but does anybody else see so many colors if you look long enough in eucalyptus, like the flat leaf eucalyptus? What are they called? Silver dollar. I see so many colors in those. Anywho, I did this painting twice, so I took one of them and decided I was gonna cut them up for, it was a recent project, honestly. This was more floral illustration, kind of step-by-step, simple shapes, and then evolving. And y'all remember the Choose Your Own Adventure mushroom video. Oh, it was so fun. I did the mushroom art that you see it kind of the main focus here. And then I did 4 different background possibilities. It was super fun. If you're a child of the 80s or 90s, you remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books. Lots of swatching. All right, this was stuff from my book that just came out, the Mixed Media Adventures. This was all of the different, like, doodly stuff that I was showing you how to do in the book. And look, I did this on scraps and then just photographed them and edited the photographs. And that's what was in the book. This was a class. This was my big watercolor lesson. A bunch more of these I was doing. I must have done these for private lessons. Oh, this year's holiday wreath. If you didn't catch that one, check it out. Lots of fun stuff going on here. Lots of dry brush, super fun techniques. I actually had so much fun with this wreath and I want to do more of it. I actually want to evolve this. So, like, this truly was my sketch. It was my idea center and I want to take this and evolve it. This was a piece I did live during my Watercolor Land live series earlier this year. I'm going to link that whole series as a playlist below. Super popular. Your response as a community was tremendous. And this was a piece I did later in that series. I think it was mixed media. This was a TikTok that turned into a short here on YouTube, and then it turned into a whole daggone video. And it also was inspired by similar things that other artists have done to help us find our style. This is something I did in Disney. I was watching the parade in Magic Kingdom, and I just started sketching all these different elements, and then tried to like pull it all together, and actually really enjoyed that. And then I went to Topolino's in Disney earlier this year at the Riviera, where Mickey, artist Mickey, and all the characters that come up to your table are dressed kind of like artsy, and I was like starstruck. I was absolutely ridiculous. And then I got stuck in the hurricane. I was totally safe, so blessed. We were stuck at oh my gosh, the lodge, the one that's like a national park. My brain gone, done. Anyway, I was bored, stuck there for 2 days, safe and happy and healthy, but bored. So I started going outside when it was safe and foraging stuff on the ground from the hurricane. And there was like, if you look at the short or the TikTok of this, there was live stuff that was making up these white spaces of her hair. This was another video on that graphite watercolor technique that I do. Another fairy tale flower. Who knows what I did that for? This was one of my more detailed pieces this year. Really loved her. These super gorgeous Oriental Poppies. Love this so much. I will link this video below. This is a piece I actually intend to finish in the near future, and it was a piece where I started very, very dark and then went light with some mixed media, or actually no, with some opaque watercolors. So I really actually want to finish that one. I've been really into teaching the thought process behind finishing a painting, and I have a couple of videos. I'll post those below as well. Some hellebore or Lenten roses. This is the way it went. This was very early in the year. This might have been last year, but it's okay. Oh my gosh, this is so old. I don't know why this is in here, but this is a little piece of art that I did before my son, who is now 7, came. He's adopted, and I wrote, "Today I dreamed we paint silly leaves together." I did a lot of painting leading up to his birth because, you know, like I had nothing to do with his birth, so I had to kind of fill my nervous time somehow. And I have no idea how that got in here. Anywho, more swatching. Oh, amaryllis from the very tail end of last year. Oh, the leaves. Y'all remember the leaves. And let's see what else. We're getting down to the bottom of the barrel, but honest to Pete, there's so much more that I did this year. I send a lot of my artwork up to my wedding invitation studio to get scanned for different projects, for licensing and whatnot. So this is just a look at the very, very much like sketchy sketchbook stuff that's very like incomplete, unfinished, because this work, this is the heart and soul of what we do with watercolor, right? And friends, let me know if you're having a good time. I would so much appreciate a like on this video. And if you're not subscribed yet, I would invite you to, because we have a lot of fun here 3 times a week. Lots of good goings on here. But anyway, seriously, the work that you do in your sketchbooks, or whether you're like me, crazy ladies, you know, scrap papers everywhere, this is the heart and soul of your magic. This is where all your magic and your confidence and all of your watercolor juju springs from. So be proud of it, no matter how incomplete or how goofy or how mixed up, messed up, failure-ish it might be. This is your heart and soul, and own it. Own it, own it, own it, friends. And until next time, I wish you tons of happy painting, and go ahead and watch this video next, because I think you'll actually really enjoy seeing how this little love came to life. Until next time, I'm gonna say it again because it deserves it. Until next time, happy painting.